Right, guys. Well, we'll rip straight into it. Last one was covering off a lot more around the overall process, and then we jumped into the first sort of piece there in and around the specifics of lead generation. We covered off a few bits and pieces there. So this one here, seeing as how we've already covered off the overview and things like that, we can almost jump right into a bit more of this topic, which is going to be the lead nurture side of things. Okay. So essentially, most people that I speak with or come across in any business, let alone building, uh, nobody does this very well. Okay, there's a famous term called the money's in the follow-up, and ultimately nobody does the follow-up. So what that essentially means is that you can get as many leads as you want, right? But unless you're actually A, connecting with them, and B, following them up over time, you're never going to turn those into opportunities. So it doesn't give you enough chances at making a sale, and therefore, just going to reduce your entire ROI on the marketing that you do, okay? So let me share my screen real quick and jump into the first piece here. So thumbs up, let me know if you can see that one. Cool, cool. Awesome. So I'll zoom out just a fraction. Obviously, we've got the three different pieces of the puzzle here. We've got the lead generation, lead nurture, lead conversion. So if we zoom back out, there's the overall picture. Okay. We obviously want all of these things to work together to make it work for us. Now, for you guys more than others, it's more important because the sales cycle is so long. So you imagine doing this for a dentist or a, electrician, something like that. When somebody inquires, the time between the inquiry and getting money out of them is a lot shorter, right? And so when it comes down to what you guys are doing, if someone comes through, they've still got to you got to figure out what's possible, you've got to connect with them, you've got to do plans, permits, pricing, all that sort of stuff before you realistically turn them into money. And so also because of the size of the contracts and things, it just takes time to follow these people up and get them into a point when they are ready to buy. Now, I mentioned on the last one that when you have, say, 10 leads come through, the percentages or ratios, ballpark, out of 10, you're going to get two to three that are good, going to be a conversation coming through, sort of now looking to do something. About half of them are going to be good but not ready. And so this is the good but not ready that we want to focus on next is really how do we keep those moving through the process without just simply harassing them as far as, hey, you want to move forward? You want to move forward? All right. So there's a few nuances to it, and a lot of this actually comes down to the first interaction that you have with them. So if we look specifically down here, I'll jump straight into some of the bits and pieces, but we're going to cover off this portion in a little bit more detail. And a lot of this refers back to a couple of things. So let me jump to this one here as far as the overall visual that we've got for the entire funnel, for lack of a better word. The lead generation portion covers off, getting people from SEO, from Google ads, from social ads, that sort of thing. And what we want to do is we want to focus on now that the leads come through, how do we deal with them? And so that comes through to this sort of section down the bottom here. And if I zoom in a little bit, we've got three real categories that we put people into. The first one is hot lead follow-up. So when a lead comes through, how do we get to them quickly? How do we, make sure that we have the highest chance of connecting with them? The second one is what we call the 30-day pitch, and this is all designed around, let's presume that you did a poor job getting to them initially, and they might have sent off two to three more inquiries. How do we position you against the other two or three people they might have inquired with? And so this is selling the value that you bring and why you're different and everything else. And then this other one here is long-term nurture. And this is going to be where a lot of people fall into and get forgotten about. Okay. And this is could be anywhere from, 30 days through to 3 years. And it's a process that nobody does, but we can touch on here. So all of this stuff relates back to the study that was done by Harvard Business Review. And this one here was based off of lead response management. So a lot of this relates to the initial side of things. And this is what we're going to cover off first. So we've got one activity that we're going to do from here, and it's going to be super straightforward. And I'm going to show you some examples of how it works and that sort of thing. But if you've got a cell phone, then you can do this one really easily, okay? We don't have to get all fancy on automated systems and all that sort of thing. But Through this resource here, this is a report based off how do you actually deal with the leads coming through and maximize the result and minimize the effort. Okay, so get the most out of your marketing and your sales process. So covers off things like best days to make calls, best times to make contacts, uh, which is fine. Okay, those are helpful. But the two that we really want to look at here is response time. So how quickly do we get to them? And the second one here is persistence. How many times do you follow them up? So this first one here is how quickly do you get to them? Now, if we look at the data and what this tells us, if you get to somebody within the first 5 minutes, you have the highest chance of success in connecting with somebody, full stop. Okay. After the 5 minute mark, it drops dramatically and then decreases over time. Now, a couple of points to that. You're not going to be able to get to somebody within 5 minutes of them coming through. That's totally fine. And we've got a few solutions for that. But this is just what happens in the stats, okay? So there are entire businesses which revolve around this whole thing, basically saying, okay, we're an insurance company. There's one called UE Insurance, and basically their whole business model was built around when somebody's filling out a form for insurance, they don't even have to submit the form. As soon as they type their phone number in and go to the next question, somebody's dialing that number and we're giving them a call before they've even finished the form. Okay. Now, because somebody's obviously filling out the form, they are free and available. And so the chance of connecting with them is extremely high. So if we can't get to them quickly, right, because we're on site, we're doing other things, we're all business owners here. Like it's a very hard thing to do is stop what you're doing and get to the new work coming through. How do we have effective strategies of getting to these people and mimicking that same effect? Okay. And I'll show you something on that one in just a second. The other one here is persistence. And this is the other one that people drop the ball on quite a lot is how many times do you try to connect with somebody? The most frustrating thing from doing any kind of marketing is a lead comes through, right? You try to give them a call, no answer. Okay, fine. Try them again later, no answer. Quite often people will go, oh, it's a shit lead, not going to do anything with it. They don't want to pick up the phone. When in reality, you need to try people multiple times because especially now versus 20 years ago, people feel like their life is really busy. And so what they are, filling out a form, they're contacting you and maybe multiple others, but then they might go off and pick up the kids. Maybe they're cooking dinner. Maybe you're in work on a lunch break, things like that. And we want to try and get to people multiple times to make sure that we actually connect with them. So what this says here, chance of connecting with someone on the first call is only about 30-40%. So very, very low. Okay. Chance of connecting with somebody on the second call is around about 60%. So better. Now, obviously there's a sweet spot up here, which is around the fourth call, but they recommend 6 attempts at following somebody up before you cut your losses. And that gives you a 90% chance of actually connecting with them. This literally happened to me when I was inquiring about solar. I inquired to 3 different companies. The first one gave me a call within, say, 30 minutes, and I had a good conversation with them and moved forward into a consultation. The other companies I was happy to speak with, but they didn't call me until the next morning. And when they called me, I got the call and I saw it come up with the company's name, but I was busy dropping off the kids and things like that. And then they tried calling again and I was in a Zoom meeting. And so just trying to connect with people, obviously getting to them quickly and then doing it over multiple times is really, really effective. So what does it look like in practice? Well, I've got a couple of examples, but most people only do this 1, 2, maybe 3 times and then they give up. But if you can just follow these 2 fundamentals, then this is going to make life a ton easier. So let me just share this other screen here and I will do this. So find the one I'm looking for. Okay, find resume. Right on. So this is a real example of when this actually works and literally to the point of multiple follow-up attempts. This is exactly how it works. So this lead came through for one of the clients that we're working with. Okay. He tried dialing this person. Now, if we look at the dates here, obviously this has not been a good start to the process because the lead came through on the 6th and he didn't try and calling him until the 8th. Okay, so already on the back foot. But then he's tried once, twice, right? No answer. The client's actually, or the lead is then called back. He's tried a third time, fourth time, fifth time. The guy's called back again and obviously cross paths. And then on the sixth call, he's spoken with the guy, had a great conversation, booked in a site meeting from here. And what number did I say has the highest chance of connecting with people? Let's go back to here. 6 attempts. Okay. So literally, this exact study represented in real life is how it's played out for that example there. He has tried the lead 6 times in order to connect with them and have that discussion. Now, as far as the cliff notes of that conversation, he's looking to do a home extension, and his basic words on the phone were, if it's within 400K, then I'm happy to click go. And so, whether or not that has progressed through, we can check on that as it goes. This is only from a couple months ago. But basically, this person was a really good fit. And if he'd given up after maybe 3 attempts, then the lead would be lost. And he would think that, the lead would think this company doesn't care about me, things like that. Okay. So that's the first one. And so the trickiest thing to do is managing these leads. And so the way that we typically do that is through a CRM, right? Customer relationship management. Basically, you could use anything you like, and I'm going to show you an example of the one we use and what that actually looks like. It basically gives you a sort of overview of this with the different pipeline stages. So all your totals and everything else, houses it all in one place. But basically, you can then put people into different stages of the pipeline and you can move them across as they sit in your sales process. So actually having a visual on where everything is at is really important. And if you wanted to do this another way, you could literally open up your inbox and whether you're using, Gmail or Outlook or whatever, you guys want to chuck in the comments, let me know. Like, first off, do you have a CRM? Yes or no? Just type CRM. And if you don't, then tell me, do you use Gmail or do you use Outlook? Right? No, cool. No CRM using Gmail. All good. HubSpot, cool. And Outlook, nice. Cool. Outlook, right on. Cool. All right, good spread here, guys. So this is literally 101 for managing your leads. If you have no other system to do it, I'm going to open up my inbox here. I'm a Gmail user, so let me just do this. Hopefully there's no cool. Let me make sure there's no personal things in there. Right on. So my Gmail inbox, right? Over on the left-hand side here, you can create labels. Now, let's say that this one here is a new inquiry from a prospect. We can basically come across here, add a label, and we can say, sales or whatever we want to do. And we can create a new label there. And we can move this person or this lead across into a holding pattern inside your inbox, basically. Okay, so that's option number one. You've got nothing else. Perfect way to do it. The second way you can do it is you can actually turn this into a task. Okay, so Google has them and Outlook has them. You can add to tasks, right? Just click it here, come across to the right-hand side. There's my to-do list here to make sure I have the magnesium at night. Fantastic, I've done that. But basically, that turns your email into a task, and then all you need to do is simply have your task list open for this lead or this prospect and make sure that you follow them up multiple times. And you can even leave comments and things like that on your inbox. So all that makes sense. Is that very straightforward? No CRM. You guys all feel like you can label an email, label a lead. Give us a one in the comments if you think that's achievable. Cool. Nice and easy. I guarantee you, if you do that, you will make more money. Okay. So that's the first example as far as follow-up attempts. Now, the second one we want to look at is speed to lead. So just to recap on that last one, if you do nothing else other than, leaving this call and things like that, one action item that you've got is to set up a couple of labels inside your inbox to make sure that any new prospects that come through are basically can be moved into one of those folders. Okay. The second thing we're going to do here is take a look at the speed to lead process. So just ran through how important it is to get to people quickly. Let me show you what it looks like when we do this really effectively. All right, just go to this one here and I'll share my screen again. Shrink this one up and I will share this really quickly. Okay. Cool. Right, let me share this. So, can everybody maybe see this? Give us a thumbs up. Cool. So this is a different example, similar sort of CRM layout here, or view, I guess you call it. Basically, what we're looking at here is a lead has come through. Okay. Now, lead comes through at 6:46 p.m. We automatically send them a text message here. Hey, first name, just got your inquiry. Tell me about your project. Signed off, your name, your company. If you do this one thing, okay, this is guaranteed to help your whole process because when people are inquiring, they're going to be sending off multiple messages, right? So to multiple people. If you're the first one, for example, and then they get a text on their phone, the amount of texts that you get generally in the consumer space, right, is very low. And so you get a text, all of a sudden you're either checking your smartwatch or you're picking up your phone going, oh, who texts me? Oh, cool. Oh, awesome. Thanks, Toby, for sending that message through. Okay. Uh, and then they'll text you back and tell you a little bit more about it. So if we scroll down here, hey, early stages, slope block from front to back, 700 square meters, potential knockdown or renovate, weighing up pros and cons, two families coming together. Okay. All this is designed to do, if we stop there and do nothing else, is the first thing is to take them off the market from looking at other people. And number two, show that you care, right? Without necessarily having to put too much effort into it. You don't need to necessarily pick up the phone and call someone, right? Although that is the ideal setup. You just need to communicate with them quickly to let them know that you're responsive and you're professional. All making sense so far? Feel like you're able to send a text, right? Chuck us a two in the comments if you feel like you're capable of sending a text message when a lead comes through. Cool. Well done. You're passing the test so far. Okay. So one simple action item you can do from this is inside two ways to do it. Open up a notes app on your phone. I use Google Keep. And basically what you can do is you can open up your notes app. You can chuck a new note in there. And I want you to type the message in there into this box, basically saying, okay, so chuck it into your phone and write, for lack of a better phrase, this exact one here. Hi, first name, right? And if that's better to use their first name, or mate, hi there, right? Hi. Uh, the more generic it is, the less response you'll get from it. Just got your inquiry. Tell me about your project, and then your name and your company. Okay, chuck that into a notes app, and then when somebody comes through via email, you open up your notes, you copy that message, go into your messages, and paste it in, and away you go. Okay. Perfect. Nice and easy. So that's those two things, I guarantee, will make you more money as far as the people coming through. Like literally, you do those, you're ahead of 90% of other people out there who are going to get to them slowly and forget to follow them up full stop. Okay. Let me show you what it looks like in a perfect world once this is set up to basically remove you from the equation. Okay. What we want to do is we want to replicate all of these actions so it appears that you're proactive, you're professional, you've got all these touch points in place. This first message here goes out, okay? They reply to that. Now, our AI picks up on it and starts to have a two-way conversation with one goal. When is the best time to call you, okay? Because let's say we try calling this person now. Who knows what they're up to? They could be sitting on the toilet. They could be in a meeting. You know, I was chatting to someone the other day who was in the middle of a Teams meeting and was multitasking, so obviously wouldn't answer the phone. So we want to text them back and forth with the best, basically to the goal of what are you looking to do and when's the best time to give you a call. So he replied back here with the project details. Cool, thanks for sharing. What's the goal with this? More space, bedrooms, bathrooms, the lot, all adults. Cool. Sounds like it could be a good option. Want to chat about these things? Sure. Do you have time next week? I've got time Monday, 20th at 9 a.m., 10 a.m. or 11. Which one works for you? 11 a.m. is good, thank you. Perfect. What's the best number and things to call you on? Perfect. Nice one. And then the appointment was confirmed. Now, what this actually does, this throws a meeting into your calendar, which is not there to be a Zoom meeting or anything like that. It is designed for you to go, oh shoot, I've got to give this person a call at 12 o'clock on Tuesday or whatever time was booked. And if you do this process, I can't tell you how much it saves the back and forth trying to connect with people. You call the person at 12 o'clock, 9 times out of 10, they pick up on the second ring because they're expecting the call, okay? So really, really effective way of doing it right here is getting that time when's best to connect. So you can do the same thing again if someone replies to your text. You basically just want to ask a couple of things. It's tell me about your project. They open up about it. You can say, you can ask them more specifics or say, tell me more, such as, you know, and then basically you can go into perfect, when's the best time to call, and then you can again chuck another reminder or calendar event into your system or your emails or whatever you want to do. Or again, if you've got a CRM, then all this works much better. Okay. We then want to go one step further, and then we can skip on to the next piece. It basically, we've got a confirmation message that goes out, but this one here is really cool. Hey Joshua, give you a call on this number shortly to discuss your project. So this text goes out 10 minutes before the time to call, and he's obviously liked that message, and then that way they picked up the phone, they both had a meaningful conversation, and it was picked up on the first ring. Does all that sound like something that would be helpful if everyone that came through as a lead would pick up the phone? Yeah, nice. Any questions so far? Feel free to chuck them in the chat. Otherwise, we can keep ripping through. Nope. Cool. Fantastic. Awesome, guys. So, next thing here that we want to do is we want to take a look at what happens when you've tried to connect with someone. You do, maybe you don't. Okay. Either way, we then want to be sending them some messages about the company. Okay. I guess the whole point of this whole process is that having a CRM that can do some of these automated things is fantastic. It will save you a ton of time, but you can get away without it. Okay. Just by doing those initial fundamentals, you'll be sweet. But the other things that we want to do is start sending them these 30-day emails here before moving them onto the long-term nurture. Now, you'll notice here that if we zoom out a little bit, let's say that this person has booked a time in the calendar. You give them a phone call. They're going to be in one of three places. They're a bad fit, chuck them in the rubbish and politely decline them. They're going to be a good fit and ready, in which case you book in a site meeting or an in-person meeting. Or they're going to be a good fit and not ready, and in which case, whether you speak with them or not, they fall back down here into this long-term nurture as well. So these things here are really, really effective for the long game. Now, I could find this other example here that I was talking about. I actually think I did a video on this on YouTube, which you can check out the exact example. But basically, a lead came through that was in March, I think it was. And this person inquired, they had a quick conversation, 6 or 7 minutes, and then didn't go anywhere because they weren't quite ready. And then scrolling forward, they had a few different emails and things go out to them. And then they hit reply to one of these messages and basically said, hey, we're now ready to pick up on the conversation. Can you give me a call? And again, the AI picked up on that and said, sure, what time? Tuesday at 11 or Wednesday at 12. And they chose a time and that they connected then. They've moved forward to a site meeting. So that's what this next piece is. The long-term nurture is working with people over time. Okay. With me so far, everyone? Chuck us a one in the comments if you feel like yes, you're still with me. Nice. Fantastic. Cool. Love the sound of my own voice. So feel free to chime in at any time. Okay. So I guess recapping where we're at now, we've got the initial touch points sorted and we've got the follow-up attempts underway. So now getting into this next step here, I want you to do an activity with me real quick and very, very straightforward. Okay, grab a pen and paper or a notes app, a notes thing on your app, and I want you to plan out the messages that you're going to send to a prospect to basically tell them why you're special and unique. Okay. Now, if I wanted to, I probably could have built another tool like we did last week to generate these messages for you, but then you'd still have to send them out somehow. And so basically what you want to do is go out and think what are the things that make you different and special. Okay. Have a think about that for 1 second and then I'll bring up some examples for you. So just writing down on a bit of paper in front of you, what is it that you do different than everybody else, or what makes you special versus everyone else? Okay. So if we now take a look at anyone got want me to put this together for them right now, feel free to unmute yourself or chuck a comment, and I can do this for you right now. We'll do yours for you custom so you can see what it looks like. Put your hand up, unmute, chuck a comment, entertain me. Nobody? That's all right. Real shy, that's fine. Okay, cool. Nicole, awesome. So Nicole, we can do this one for you. So if you want to chuck into the chat, what is it that makes you special, unique, different, that type of thing, as far as a company compared to the others? Cool. Bespoke one-on-one services. Nice one. Cool. Now, I'm going to show you something as far as a framework that you can use. I presume anybody heard of this small little platform called ChatGPT? Chuck us a two in the comments if you've heard of that little platform. Cool. Nice one. If you haven't, chatgpt.com, right? Very basic version. There's a few more advanced tools out there that will make it more personalized and unique. But again, nobody does this stuff at all. So therefore, if you do anything, even if it's a little bit generic, it'll come across really, really well. Okay. So I'm going to share with you something really quickly. Okay. Last thing here, Nicole, what's the company name? Perfect. CJS Carpenters. So what we want to do, I'm going to do this really quickly. Share my screen. Okay, this is our own version of ChatGPT, for lack of a better word. The main reason we use this is because we've got a little bit of training data and stuff that we can use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the AI some context. Okay, and what I mean by that is, if you tell the apprentice to go and cut up some links, okay, he'll say, how long, where are they going, what do they do? Or hopefully he asks the right questions rather than disappearing. The same thing we need to do is give some good instructions with context around what we're trying to achieve. So what we want to do is we want to go CJS Carpenters, okay? Grab your website, your Facebook, if you don't have anything. Most people have kind of got a little bit of something here. We want to Control A, Control C, and we want to paste this in here and say save, don't respond. Okay. Hopefully it does this and listens to me. The reason we're doing this, guys, is we want to basically write these emails with it understanding who you are, what you do, and that sort of stuff. Okay. Cool. I'll save this information without responding. Perfect. So all we're doing here is we're giving some understanding around what you guys do. Okay. And so what it's done is it's basically grabbed from the website the location that you work in, some of the things that you do. And then the other thing here that was mentioned was that, and I'm going to use my voice to text here, we do bespoke custom projects with high touch points and personalized care. Right, you could add in as much as you want here, and just voice to text is amazing. You can talk for minutes and then basically just run with it, and it'll pick up on it. And what we're going to do is I'm going to give you this copy and paste that you can use. This is the instruction that we want to do for our 30-day email sequence. I want you to outline a 30-day hot lead autoresponder. The goal is to showcase how we're different and the best contractor in the area, plus push them towards booking a free project consultation. Please outline in a table, email number, days after opt-in to send, topic, outline of message in one box of the table. Some topics can include welcome, about us, our offer, what it includes, why choose us, our projects, testimonials, guarantee, blah, 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 okay? So you can feel free to rob and deploy this one, but this will get you a draft really, really quickly. And obviously the more personalized, the better. Now, some things that we want to do in here is just make sure that we've got some extra context in here. So, carpenters, what I'm doing here is I'm just grabbing the other piece of the puzzle. One of them we talked about was Google reviews. And so let's do this. Open up your Google business profile, grab your reviews, and same thing. We can either Control A or we can just select these reviews. And we want to paste these in here. Reviews. Okay. Hit go. Now, what this is going to do is this is going to use the understanding of the company. This is going to use the reviews that you've been given by clients, and it's going to really understand who you are, what you do, and everything else. If you want to know, like, big question that people have is, what makes us special? Like, nobody really likes talking about themselves, and so most of you struggle to sort of explain what makes you special and unique. Go and check out the reviews for your own page, and you'll find out exactly what makes you special. Okay. So people will say out loud the stuff that was helpful to them. So what it's doing here is it's going to go through and start to outline this. So it'll take a few seconds. But if we take a look at the Google reviews here, they were professional, reliable, communicated really well, and had a great work ethic. Okay. Organized trades and were to helpful advice, plans, and products, guided us through the whole experience in a professional and friendly way. Awesome. Like, here's exactly what these people appreciated with what you did. So we want to steal some of these things, and these are what makes you special, what makes you stand out, because that's what people have told you. You with me so far? Cool. Anybody had a crack at this in ChatGPT before? I know that most people have sort of had a play with it. I guess I've been using it a long time and have basically got a few different frameworks that we use for AI in general, ChatGPT, that sort of thing. No, that's fine. So there are a couple of things that we want to make sure that we do is in any of the interactions that we have with the AI, we want to use transcripts or voice clips or lots of information around what you're trying to achieve. And like I say, voice to text is really cool because you can basically just hit the button, talk absolute rubbish, and it'll clean it up for you, which is amazing. So when you're doing it, feel free to do that. But when we're doing any kind of marketing, we need to know who you are, okay? And that's what we've just done here. We've copy and pasted all of the business and everything else into, into the chat so it understands who we are and the company that we're trying to promote. The other thing that we would typically do is grab the ideal client profile, which was generated last week, okay, on the initial lead generation workshop, the first one. So now we know who we're advertising to or who the messaging is it needs to be tailored towards. And then obviously we need to give it the goal. And so the goal is that instruction that I just gave it. Cool. So let me just jump into here, open this one up. We've now got a table view of the different messaging and what kind of messages you could send out, right? We've basically been going here for, on this one specific task, less than 5 minutes. And we've basically done this entire piece, okay? Now, I won't read them all out, but basically we've got email one, okay, with a bit of an overview of what it is, when to send it, the topic, all these sorts of things. The why choose us, testimonials, which have been, look, that quoted word for word. They took the stress off our shoulders, okay? It's an amazing subject line that it's already written, which is from the Google review that somebody has given you. So it's doing all the work here as long as we give it the right instructions. Is anybody thinking this is helpful? Again, give us a yes, something like that in the comments. I'm happy to open up more around, all this sort of stuff. Very awesome. Cool. Nice one. So really, really easy to get this stuff, I guess, most of the way there. I think the challenge really comes in how we tie it all together. And it's always, anything in life, relatively simple to get to that 60, 70, 80% mark. And it's always that last sort of 10 or 20% is really hard to sort of finish something off. And that's why most people end up with tons of things on their to-do list because they don't quite complete each one. And so looking at this, we've got all our emails. Okay, next thing that we do is write the first email in full. Okay, pretty straightforward, right? Hey, first name, thanks for reaching out to CJ's Carpenters. I'm Cam Smith, founder and lead builder. Wanted to personally welcome you, right? Now, Couple of things that we notice in here is personal, one-to-one sort of relationship when you're writing these things. This is basically done, you want to pretend like you're talking to them, okay? So never we, like the corporate speak kind of thing, we, us, the company. It's all about, hi, I'm Cameron from Contractor Scale. Here's what I do, here's how it works, this sort of thing. Like you want to make it a very one-to-one relationship. Nicole says, yeah, can we find the prompt somewhere? Yep, I will chuck it on the tools page on the same link. So contractorscale.com/tools. I will put the prompt there that you can use. But for this example, I can share this exact one with you after this, seeing as how we're sort of doing it for the example purposes, okay? So what sets us apart? Blah, blah, blah. Right, I'll share this. If you need anything, here's the details, etc. You know what we do next? We say, write, email, to. Now, really, really complex, guys, but what we want to do here is we want to go open up a new Google Doc. We want to grab this first email and copy and paste it in, okay? And this one here, copy with formatting, paste it in. Now, what you can do, again, if you've got no CRM, nothing at all, you can basically save this as a snippet to your email inbox. So not super complex. If you can't figure it out, use ChatGPT and say, how do I set up a snippet in my email inbox? Okay, it'll tell you exactly how to do it. But basically, you can save these in here as predefined templates that, again, a new lead comes through, you try them once, you try them twice, regardless of whether you connect with them or not. You open up your inbox and you go send, label it as, you know, nurture dash one or something like that, because the next email will be nurture dash two, nurture dash three. And you can easily just shoot these ones off to keep in touch with these people. And it'll make a huge difference as far as when you do connect with them, they'll understand a bit more around what you do and how it all sort of comes about. All make sense? Cool. So that is the 30-day pitch. Let me just go back to my visual here. The last one that we want to look at here is long-term nurture, okay? Now, long-term nurture is typically forgotten about in a lot of sense, but basically this one here is just keeping in front of people. In a perfect world, maybe once every 2 weeks, okay? Monthly newsletter is what most people think about when this sort of thing comes up. It is not a newsletter. We don't ever want to use that word newsletter. It's a dirty word, okay? Instead, we want to follow a simple framework, and this is how we do social media as well, okay? Right. I'm going to list off a couple of different frameworks that we use, and then I can show you some examples of what that actually looks like. So whether this is your social media posts, okay, or your nurture emails, we want to do a mix of these. Teach, show, share, give, okay? And this is exactly why we don't do social media for people, but we will basically help them generate, 80% of it so that they can review and schedule it out and that sort of thing. Teach, show, share, and give. So when we send out an email or we do a social media post, right, they kind of can work together. Obviously, one you're sending is an email, the other one you're just posting on social media. Teach is really important, okay, to showcase your expertise. And what that looks like in real life might be, hey, here's a job that we just did. We put triple glazing in. Here's why it's important. Here's some of the specifics that we did to make it all work. We used, the specific taping and things like that. And the outcome is blah, blah, blah. So what you want to do is showcase expertise. It could be on any topic you like relating to the work that you do. But all you're trying to do is get across that you guys are the experts in your field, okay? And again, we can come up with some more examples like this really quickly. But that's the first one, okay? The second one is going to be show, okay? Show is going to be examples of the work. Now, most people are really, really good at this. Updates of projects that you've done, things like that. You're always sharing photos of stuff that you're up to as far as proof that you can do the job. So I won't harp on too much about that one because it's really, really straightforward. But you want to basically, showcase the work. And so here's a job that we just started. Here's one that we just finished. Here's, partway through this one, you're kind of talking about the projects itself. Now, just quickly, why are we doing it in this format? Well, because most people go one of two which ways. They basically post every single post relating to a um, an update on the project, like or a project, completion. That so everything needs to be polished and fancy photos and things. But you're not really building a connection with someone if all you're doing is sharing the stuff that you do, because you got to remember that nobody cares about you; they care about themselves. Okay, and same concept goes for sending the emails out. All of these apply as well. So, hey, here's this job. We just finished this triple glazing, blah, blah, blah. Email, send out to all of the contacts that are in your warm list, right? Do you know how you do that? Either via CRM or you go back into your Gmail inbox here. And let's say that we've got, you know, 30 people in here or 3,000 people in here. You select all and you can send an email out to these people. Okay. Makes it really, really straightforward to do that sort of thing. The reason we use a CRM is because it gets very complex as you have more people in your world. But what we would typically do is set up all of these to be automated and have them, you don't need to send them out at all. We would make sure that they're scheduled ahead of time, or someone comes in, they automatically get these emails day after day. Cool. So we've done teach, show, share is one that's really underutilized. Most people don't share enough as far as who they are, what they do, where they're from, their background, their family, their team members, really behind the scenes stuff so that you can build a personal connection with somebody. So we buy from other people, we don't buy from companies. And, obviously looking back on that review there that we did before for the email, the first thing that the review said was, and I will share this right here. What did Jeremy like about working with you guys? Cam and his team managed our blah, blah, blah. So they're talking about you. They're talking about you personally. They didn't mention here initially CJS, right? They did at the end, thanks team CJS. But what the first thing they did is they talked about the owner or the person who that they've been dealing with. So we always want to talk about ourselves and build that personal connection as far as behind the scenes. And I'll show you some examples of what that looks like effectively. And then the last one is give. So this last one is basically a way to get in touch with people. Hit reply. Do you have a question on your project? Hit reply and let me know. Could be a really simple email that you just send to someone out really quickly. Another one could be, hey, we've just put this guide together. Do you want me to send a copy over? It could be, we're looking for 3 people to kick off a project feasibility meeting with. Is that something you want to take us up on? So the last one there is just about a call to action or getting people to engage in the process. And that's really the effectiveness of having all 4 of those. So some people always promote, promote, promote. Okay, and that's the wrong way to do it. So we want to make sure that we just revolve those 4 sort of themes and teach, show, share, and give. Okay. All that makes sense? Give us a yes. If it's not clear, give us a no, and I can explain on any which one. Cool. Got a thumbs up. That's important. Cool. Making sense. Fantastic. So if I go back to my personal profile, okay, it works the exact same way. I just use a personal profile for business slash work, sorry, business slash personal. And I can show you some examples here really quickly. The same concept applies to your email nurture. Okay, so I know I'm talking about social media and mixing concepts here, but you would literally take this, send it out as an email. Okay, so let me share my screen. I'm just going to flick through a few different examples. Okay, I'm mixing up a few different things at the moment with stories, so ignore that. This one here is a share. Okay, this one here is basically, hey, we just announced a partnership with Bunnings Trade. I've been working on this one a while, stoked to get it into play, blah, blah, blah. So behind the scenes of what I'm up to, my personal things, that sort of thing, as far as the work that we're doing. There's a video here about the event, obviously. There's, we go through here, there is, personal stuff here, okay? And also tied into, business lessons, we can do hybrid ones like that. But you look at the engagement that you get when you obviously share a personal photo on your Facebook, okay? People want to relate to you. Oh, he's got small children. He's roasting marshmallows. Down to earth guy. We can also talk about work, that sort of stuff in the background here. So this was just a quick story about how someone came through for a 500K estimate, ended up contract signing into a 1,000,005. So a way of getting people to go through the process and actually end up working with you at a higher budget. But this one here is sort of behind the scenes. What else we got? This one here was a bit of a story around sharing expertise. Okay, so this is a teach post. So talking about what was it? Preliminary planning, that sort of thing. Okay, and again, mixing it in a combination of personal and business is really good to get the engagement as well. This one here was just a straight up behind the scenes. Here's what we're up to. We're off to Fiji. Here's the family. See you later. Okay. Now, when you do it like this, again, in your emails or in your social media, this is how you build a connection with somebody. Now, there's a few of those posts that had engagement on them. Normally, nobody engages on them because everybody, who's a builder doesn't want to, showcase that they've liked a comment from someone talking about marketing. It's a dirty word. Uh, but when I talk to people, they say, "Hey, I've been following you a while. I've seen your posts. I like what you do." I had a conversation with someone mid last year, or sorry, mid this year, and he basically said, I don't really know exactly what you do, but I really vibe with the stuff that your principles and the stuff that you're sort of sharing. Okay. So you're trying to build a connection with people. You're trying to make sure that we are talking about work, talking about behind the scenes, but also asking as well. And that video that was further up on the feed there was talking about, hey, I've got this event coming up. Do you want to join us for a workshop? That was another way to get people in the door. Okay. All making sense? Give us a yes. Cool. Chuck it in there. Cool. Right on. Awesome, guys. So just going back to the recap on this, the nurture side of things is basically the goal is how do we have a lead come through? We've done the lead generation portion. Tick. Okay. We've had leads come through. That was last week. Now, how do we keep in touch with them going forward? It's a combination of these, getting to them quickly, trying them multiple times. That's the first piece. Second one is selling the company, okay, and what you guys do differently. And then the third one, keeping in touch with people over long term, okay. In a perfect world, most of this is automated and that's 100%, achievable. We do a lot of this as part of what we do. The second part is making sure that you track and manage all of this to see how effective it is. So, for example, this is one person's dashboard over the last 30 days. There's a few metrics here we can see. On the left-hand side, we've got speed to lead. So this person had a phone call within 13 minutes and 55 seconds. 37 minutes, 3 hours, 1 day, 15 hours, 1 hour, 50 minutes, 28 minutes. So really, really doing a good job here of getting to the leads that are coming through. And I can't tell you how many people that we have reviewed their marketing with or worked with, and they go, hey, it's not working. And we look at the stats and go, hey, why is it taking you 3 days to call somebody? Oh, because I was busy doing this and this. That's great. But how do we, solve that problem? So a lot of the automations can do that for you. The second one is then looking at which of these people had a good, meaningful conversation. So this one here, for example, 11 minutes, 2 minutes is not very good. 13 minutes, so 19 minutes. So some really good conversations happening here because they've been spoken with really, really quickly. Okay. And then we can also track the follow-up attempts in here as well with 2 times call, 8 text messages sent here, phone call, 1 email open, that sort of thing. And this is just the joys of automation. Now, take this one step further. You can also use AI to analyze those phone calls and things like that because quite often what happens is you have a conversation with someone, something happens, you jump off, you forget that you're supposed to send them an email or a follow-up, and then it's like, oh shoot, last week I was supposed to send an update or an example of one of our projects that we finished to Johnny. Okay. And that's where we have these tasks automatically generated based off of the phone calls that you're having. So lead comes through, you don't get to them, it'll generate a task to try again, try again, try again, up to 6, and then it won't remind you. Or if you do connect with them, it'll give you context around what this follow-up's for. So for example, follow up on renovation plans to, discuss moving this one forward. Obviously this one's miles away, right? They're talking about having this done potentially in May next year. And so it's automatically understood the conversation, created a task for them to follow up in May. And I guarantee when you pick up the phone and call this person, she's going to go, oh, wow, you remembered about me. Okay. So it's about using technology, obviously, to take this off your plate. But if you just do those basic fundamentals really, really easily, really quickly, then you're guaranteed to make more of the marketing that you're doing. Okay. Cool. Everybody all good on that one? So action items from here, guys, is go away and save, first things first, save the text message into your notes of your phone, okay? So that anybody that comes through a referral, through your website, through email from wherever, you copy and paste that message. Hey, first name, just saw your name come through. Tell me a bit more about your project, or words to that effect, okay? Send it to them as fast as possible, regardless of whether you're busy or whatever else, okay? The second one is obviously the follow-up attempts, okay, and saving them to your email inbox or somewhere else like a CRM ideally, that basically you can keep in touch with them to do those multiple follow-up attempts. I literally can't tell you how much, this has made people, because I once worked with a guy in Toronto. He said, "Oh, I had a really great lead come through. It was 1,200,000, but the guy didn't pick up the phone, so I abandoned the deal. Can we get any more people that are more likely to pick up the phone?" And I said, "Well, how many times did you try him?" He goes, "Once." Oh, now that I say that out loud, it sounds really stupid. Okay, so that one there, save it to your email folder, or another way there, use paper if you really have to, but just keep a track of how many times you've tried these people, and just keep trying them more times than you think. Okay, and then the third one, keeping in touch with those people over time, whether you set a task, a calendar event, put a sticky note somewhere, just to get back to them in the future. That is where the money is made. There are a lot of people that you'll come through, say today, that will be ready in 9 months' time, that you'll just forget to get back to, and they'll be the easiest sales you'll ever make. Right? Fantastic. Nicole says CRM system you'd recommend. Yeah, so I've tried them all. There are a lot of them out there. HubSpot, I saw someone mention before, is a good one, but is probably more enterprise based, not really good for sort of small business. Some project management systems like Build a Trend and that have a CRM built into them, but it is not good enough for marketing and sales. So we use one here. Yeah, cool. Rave is another one. All of these systems are really good at pricing or project management, okay? And maybe they have a CRM built into it, but it's not good enough as far as taking care of marketing and sales. So when we think about the tech stack that we use, you want to potentially have, in a perfect world, something that takes care of when the contract's signed and you're planning and starting the work. So a pricing software slash project management software, or two separate, but ideally one, okay? But on the front end, we want to use a dedicated system for our sales and marketing and communicating with people, okay, up until that point of signing the contract. So we use a system here, which we've set up with all of these bits and pieces. It's call it it was a blank slate when we first got it, and we licensed the system. But basically, we have this all set up to do all of the stuff that I've just mentioned to you before, and it just takes care of all of these things. Integrates with a virtual phone number. You can call, text within the system. It'll save your call transcripts. It'll allow you to do a one-click scope of work and things like that, which we'll talk about next week. And will also help you to track those follow-up attempts and things like that, and also do some of those follow-ups for you with AI. So if you do want to chat about that, then we do have a solution for that. Just feel free to book a time. We can chat further about that at contractorscale.com. But yeah, we have a marketing and sales CRM that works really well for us. Perfect. Awesome, guys. Well, I'll put a pin in it here. Hopefully everyone's had a good lunch, and I can stay on for a few minutes if anyone's got any questions. Otherwise, we will do the following session next Wednesday is on lead conversion. Basically how can we convert more of the leads into projects? We're talking about a few strategies there, which I know is a bit of a pain point for people at the moment. Lots of leads floating around or coming, through, getting in touch, that sort of thing, but not a lot of them signing contracts. And so how do we do that more effectively? That's what we'll be talking about next Wednesday.